नहीं करने में बिल्कुल नहीं करनी चाहिए।
Meanwhile, shifting focus, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister of Australia, Mr. Anthony Albanese, met on the sidelines of the G20 Leaders Summit in Johannesburg in South Africa. Both leaders expressed satisfaction at the deepening and diversification of cooperation between India and Australia in the last 5 years. During the bilateral, PM Albanese extended condolences over Delhi terror attack, Saudi bus crash in which Indian nationals died. Says ties very strong and defence and security ties important. Let's listen in.
Prime Minister, it's wonderful to see you again. Can I begin by expressing my condolences to the people of India for firstly the terrorist attack at the Bilateral car explosion, but also for the bus crash in Saudi Arabia that led to a loss of Indian lives. But we have much to discuss, and our relationship is very strong, never stronger, in my view. I think the economic relationship we can strengthen further, and our defence and security ties are also very important going forward. And I look forward to our discussion today. I know our foreign ministers have had a very successful meeting, and I of course saw your minister in Malaysia just a short time ago, and the relationship between us as well. I think the large Indian diaspora in Australia just means those ties are so strong.
All right, Arzu Said joins me live on this story. Arzu, the Prime Minister of India has held a meeting with his Australian counterpart. What more details can you share with us?
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese held a bilateral meeting today on the sideline of the G20 Leaders Summit in South Africa, reaffirming the growing strength of the Indian-Australian relationship, and also the two leaders expressed satisfaction over the steady deepening and broadening of the cooperation over the past 5 years, particularly since the elevation of ties through the comprehensive strategic partnership in 2020. Prime Minister of Australia conveyed Australia's solidarity with India in the wake of the recent terror attack, strongly condemning terrorism in all its form. Also, both leaders reiterated their shared commitment to intensify global efforts to counter terrorism and violent extremism. During their discussion, the two prime ministers reviewed progress over the wide spectrum of bilateral cooperation, whether we talk about political strategic engagement, defense and security cooperation, trade and investment, even energy and critical minerals, emerging technology, mobility framework, and several other there was topic of discussion that was on which the discussion held, and they also exchanged views on key regional and global development, aligning perspective on issues of mutual interest in the Indo-Pacific and beyond. So definitely, this was one of the bilateral meeting that the Prime Minister held after reaching South Africa with Australian Prime Minister, and there will be other bilateral meeting that the Prime Minister is going to hold, on the sideline of the G20 Summit. Yes.
Arzu, after this meeting, what do you think? What's next for India and Australia ties?
Well, definitely, recognizing the frequency of the high-level interaction has injected significant momentum into the relationship. The leaders agreed to maintain this pace of engagement. Whether we talk about the Indian Prime Minister or the Australian Prime Minister, reaffirmed their commitment to further elevate the Indian-Australian comprehensive strategic partnership. Pledging to work together for moving forward to look forward to strengthening the ties between both the countries to unlock new opportunities and take the bilateral cooperation to even greater heights. Yes.
Ambassador KP Fabian, who's a former diplomat. So the Prime Minister of India has met his Australian counterpart on the sidelines of the G20 Summit. In your assessment, what's next for India-Australia ties?
India-Australia ties are in good shape, but there is obviously scope for, keeping the relations, making the relations deeper and stronger and wider, which is what is being done. As you know, we had a comprehensive strategic partnership some time back, and we are taking it forward. And let me put it this way. Australia is not exactly for a multipolar world because it is very closely tied with the United States, but it is very slowly moving in the direction of a multipolar world, partly because of India's, conversations, which is a very good thing.
Also, sir, if I talk in terms of defense and security, in your opinion, what's next for India and Australia in this this sphere?
Well, it's like this. Australia is very much part of the Quad and all that. But I would put it this way, the bilateral defense cooperation will certainly be strengthened. But as regards Quad, I do not know because President Trump's plans for an engagement with China, and I suspect, not that I have any evidence, his willingness to have a bipolar world or even a tripolar world. Bipolar meaning America and China have their respective spheres of influence, and of course not in the whole world, not in the global south, but elsewhere. And tripolar means Russia also included, that is Russia having its own sphere of influence. So that sort of plan, it seems Trump has, but how far he will succeed in taking it forward, we do not know.
All right, Ambassador KP Fabian, appreciate you sharing your insights with us. Moving on now, at the ongoing G20 Summit